Hello everyone, my name is Dar Rath and I'm the pastor at Faith Lutheran Church in Port Elgin, Ontario, Canada. And each week I bring you a little message, about 5 minutes to watch. Some of the stories are funny and some of them give you something to think about. And today I'm going to do an abridged version of a couple of paragraphs from a book by Viktor Frankl. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. I highly recommend this book. It's certainly written many years ago, and probably some of you have already read it, but I'm totally committed to telling you a couple of paragraphs from this particular book. It is, first of all, a book about survival. Like so many German and East European Jews who thought themselves secure in the 1930s, Frankl was cast into the Nazi network of concentration and extermination camps. Miraculously, he survived. But his account in this book is less about his travails, what he suffered and lost, than it is about the sources of his strength to survive. Several times in the course of the book, Frankl approvingly quotes the words of Nietzsche. He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. I'm just going to repeat that. He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. Now, I just want to read a couple of paragraphs that he's talking about the meaning of suffering. We must never forget that we may also find meaning in life, even when confronted with hopeless situation, when facing a fate that cannot be changed. For what then matters is to bear witness to the uniquely human potential at its best, which is to transform a personal tragedy into a triumph, to turn one's predicament into a human achievement. When we no longer are able to change a situation, just think of an incurable disease such as an inoperable cancer. We are challenged to change ourselves. Let me cite a clear-cut example, he writes. Once an elderly general practitioner consulted me because of his severe depression. He could not overcome the loss of his wife who had died 2 years before, and whom he had loved above all else. Now, how could I, as a psychiatrist, help him? What should I tell him? Well, I refrained from telling him anything, but instead confronted him with this question. What would have happened if you had died first and your wife would have had to survive you? Oh, he said, for her this would have been a terrible thing. How she would have suffered. Whereupon I replied, you see, such a suffering has been spared her, and it was you who have spared her this suffering, to be sure, at the price that you now have to survive and mourn her. The man said no word, but shook my hand and calmly left my office. In some way, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning, such as the meaning of a sacrifice. I'll just read a little note here about Viktor Frankl. At his liberation in 1945 from the Turkheim camp, where he had nearly died of typhus, Frankl discovered that he was utterly alone. On the first day of his return to Vienna in August 1945, Frankl learned that his pregnant wife Tilly had died of sickness or starvation in the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. Sadly, his parents and brother all had died in the camps. Overcoming his losses and inevitable depression, he remained in Vienna to resume his career as a psychiatrist. The choices humans make should be active rather than passive. In making personal choices, we affirm our autonomy. A human being is not one thing among others. Things determine each other. Frankl writes, but man is ultimately self-determining. What he becomes, within the limits of endowment and environment, he has made out of himself. Viktor Frankl was once asked to express in one sentence the meaning of his own life. He wrote the response on paper and asked his students to guess what he had written. After some moments of quiet reflection, a student surprised Frankl by saying, "The meaning of your life is to help others find the meaning of theirs." "That was it exactly," said Frankl. "Those are the very words I had written." What an incredible book, and I highly, highly recommend it. Profound writing, wonderful words. I really want to say that again. The meaning of your life is to help others find the meaning of theirs. Interesting, isn't it? I don't think we think about that very often, but it's really good advice. And so, thank you so much for taking 5, and blessings on your day.